Today we're looking at a really shocking story. It's deeply personal. It's about a husband's realization, a slow, awful realization about his wife.
Yeah, a dark secret that eventually led to her murder conviction. It's quite the story.
It is. And we've got source material from interviews, police records, stuff like that, insights into how the whole investigation unfolded.
So, our goal here in this deep dive is to unpack the key evidence, the things that really brought this hidden truth to light.
Right. And see how perception clashed really dramatically with the reality of the situation.
And how tiny details, things that might seem minor on their own, can suddenly build up into this undeniable case.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's get into it. We're starting with Zach. His friend Taylor was found dead on his property.
Yeah, and right from the start, the sources show Zach he cannot believe his wife, Ashley, could be involved. He calls her super intelligent, says he just can't see her doing something like that.
Total disbelief.
Complete disbelief.
So he gets brought in for questioning. Initially, it sounds like they just see him as someone who can help them out, give some background.
He talks about knowing Taylor because they work some PI cases together, private investigator stuff,
Okay.
and how Taylor and his wife, Ashley, became friends through that. He insists there was never any kind of falling out. No issues there.
There's always a but, isn't there? The sources suggest there might have been signs earlier, even before they found Taylor's body. Maybe signs Zach didn't quite pick up on.
Well, yeah, he mentions Ashley would sometimes just vanish, like disappear for days, phone off, totally unreachable,
Wow.
which worried him and a friend, Greg. Now, Taylor apparently did sometimes drop off the radar too,
Okay.
but this time felt different. She was gone for over a month before being found. Left everything at home, wallet, keys, car. And the texts some friends got, they sounded weird, not like her usual language.
That's always a red flag, isn't it, when the
Yeah.
communication style changes?
Definitely. So the investigation starts digging, and you see how the facts begin to clash with Zach's view of things. They focus hard on one date, September 8th.
That was the last day anyone actually saw Taylor alive.
Exactly. And they asked Zach, where were you? What were you doing on September 8th?
And he seems genuinely cooperative, right? Like trying to remember, even looking at bank statements to pin down his movements.
Yeah, he does. He remembers going to the bank, then grabbing lunch alone at some seafood place.
Why alone?
He says Ashley couldn't make it. She was tied up with work. That was the explanation he got. And he seemed fine with it at the time.
Okay. And you can see the interrogation dynamic here in the source material, right?
Right.
The police aren't just fact-finding.
No, not at all. They're gauging Zach, seeing if he's involved, or maybe hoping strategically that he'll say something that points towards his wife.
Which leads them to the money.
Right, finances. They ask him, point blank, did Taylor ever give you guys money?
And Zach's reaction.
Immediate, strong, no, absolutely not. She's never given me anything. Then he explains Ashley handles all their finances. He gives her his pay, settlements, whatever, and she manages it.
So the detective wasn't talking about money given to Zach, were they?
No. The sources revealed Taylor had given Ashley a lot of money, $34,000.
$34,000. Wow.
Taylor was going through a tough divorce and asked Ashley to hold on to it for safekeeping, like put it in a safety deposit box.
Okay, makes sense.
Except Ashley didn't do that.
Yeah.
The sources show she put the entire $34,000 straight into her own bank accounts.
Oh.
And worse, she apparently spent it all, systematically,
by
the time Taylor needed it back.
Wait. So she took her friend's money, put it in her personal account, and spent every dime.
That's what the records showed. And guess when Taylor asked for that money back?
Let me guess. September 8th.
You got it. September 8th. The very day she disappeared.
Okay, so that's a huge motive. A motive Ashley would have to silence Taylor, keep her quiet about the missing money.
A massive motive. And Zach seems completely unaware of this specific financial mess during the initial questioning. This is like the first big crack in the image he has of Ashley.
So where did the detectives go next?
They ask about the property where Taylor was found. It belonged to Ashley's aunt and uncle.
Does Zach know the place?
Yeah, he confirms he's been there before. But he says the last time was like a month earlier.
Yeah.
He was trading a four-wheeler or something. Seems unrelated at first glance.
Then comes the tech side, right? Cell phone records, always crucial.
Absolutely. Standard procedure, but so powerful. They ask Zach for his number, check if he always has his phone. Does he ever lend it out?
And his answer.
Consistent. Keeps it on him, never lends it to anyone.
Which becomes important because...
Because the phone records were just damning. They showed Ashley's phone pinging on that property where Taylor's body was found. on September 8th.
Right when Taylor vanished. Okay.
But there's more. It gets even creepier. The records also showed Taylor's phone.
Yeah.
Pinging at a wedding Ashley attended the very next day, September 9th.
Whoa. So Taylor obviously wasn't at the wedding.
No. Taylor was gone by then. So you have Ashley at the potential crime scene on the 8th. And then Taylor's phone travels with Ashley to a wedding on the 9th.
That's a digital footprint connecting Ashley directly to Taylor after she disappeared.
Exactly. And by confirming Zach never loaned his phone, they rule out one possible explanation for any weird pings on his line. But again, Zach doesn't seem to know these specifics yet. He's just answering questions.
Trying to help, seemingly.
Right. And through all this, the sources describe him as calm, cooperative. But the investigators start turning up the heat. They move to physical evidence. Guns.
Okay.
They ask if he owns any 9mm handguns. He says, yeah, he has a Glock 19.
Did they tell him how Taylor died?
He says he heard secondhand that the girl was shot. That's all he claims to know.
And they ask about guns for Ashley?
Yeah. Did he ever buy her one? He remembers getting her a .38E0 PPK once. Says she used to carry a .38 airweight sometimes, but he hadn't seen her with a gun recently.
And then they hit him with the big question, the direct one.
Yep. Did you kill or participate in the death? Or do you have any knowledge? Basically, were you involved in any way?
And his response?
According to the sources, immediate, unequivocal, zero, absolutely none. I don't want to be nowhere near it. I know nothing about it.
And his body language, did it match?
Described as open, cooperative, leading in, eye contact, feet on the floor, not defensive, not like someone hiding guilt.
When they ask him what he thinks happened, he just repeats he doesn't know.
Pretty much.
There's-
That nobody deserves that. He seems genuinely lost.
But the police keep pushing, right? They ask if anything in the deeper investigation, texts, phone logs, computers, money trails, is going to hem him up, tie him to anything, even helping cover it up afterwards.
And Zach's response is really strong, almost visceral. He says something like, if any person in this world asked me to help them do something criminal, I would run as fast as I could.
Trying hard to distance himself, especially from anything involving Ashley, presumably.
Totally. He admits he's trying to process it all, reading the news, trying to swallow it and figure it all out.
Then the detective puts him on the spot, asks him to use his PI logic, put feelings aside. What's the logical conclusion based on what he does know?
And that's where you really see the conflict, the pull between loyalty, his image of her, and where the hints are pointing. He says, I can't see her doing something like that.
He mentions her intelligence again.
Yeah. She's super intelligent. She's got a master's degree. It's just sloppy. I can't see her doing that.
So he's contrasting the smart woman he knows with the messy reality of the crime.
Exactly. It's like his brain can't reconcile the two Ashleys. But the sources make it clear that even if he couldn't say it, the evidence they had discussed, the money issues hinted at, the phone location data was all pointing one way.
Even if he couldn't bring himself to voice it.
Right. And then came the final nail in the coffin, really. Undeniable physical evidence.
What is that?
Surveillance footage from a hardware store.
Yeah.
It showed Ashley buying the exact same kind of cement that was later found used to fill Taylor's grave.
Oh, wow. That's incredibly specific and damning.
Completely. At that point, the case against Ashley was overwhelming. Zach, after talking to his lawyer, agreed to a search warrant for his phone records. He was ultimately cleared. No charges.
But Ashley MacArthur, that was different.
A very different story. The evidence trailed the motive, the timeline, the phone data, the cement purchase. It was just too much.
The jury found her guilty.
Guilty. First-degree premeditated murder with a firearm. Sentenced to life in prison, mandatory 25 years.
So, wrapping this up, we've followed the trail. From Zach's initial absolute disbelief
His shock.
to his wife's conviction, and it was all built on the evidence laid out in the sources. The $34,000 motive,
That missing money.
the critical date, September 8th, the phone records putting Ashley at the scene,
And Taylor's phone traveling with her.
and then that concrete evidence, literally the cement purchase.
It's quite a chain. And throughout, Zach maintained his innocence, seemed cooperative, and the police ultimately believed him. He seemed genuinely blindsided.
Unable to connect the dots between the intelligent woman with a master's degree he thought he knew.
And the person convicted of a calculated, brutal murder. The contrast is just stark.
Which really makes you think, doesn't it? It raises that uncomfortable question.
How well do you really know the people you're closest to?
Yeah. Are there things we just don't see? Or maybe don't want to see? Until it's far too late. Something to consider.